Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Bay Robinson and friends. Seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. To view, type in YouTube and then go to videos. RBRIMO. I want to welcome our millions of viewers worldwide, and I especially want to welcome our very special guest, Mr. Henry Hatter.
Happy Easter, Ron.
Welcome to the In My Opinion Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Hatter, tell our millions of viewers around the globe who Henry Hatter is.
Well, I am Henry Hatter, the son of Frank and Isabella Hatter, who were born in Livingston, Alabama. And I'm the brother of 10 brothers and sisters. We all live in Flint. Most of the kids were born here. And I went to Flint schools. I went to Saginaw Valley College, and I have a degree in engineering. And I worked for General Motors Corporation for 34 years, and then I went to work for Michigan State University.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. Mr. Hatter, what gave you the motivation about what you wanted to do in the pursuit of life's career?
You know, thank you for asking me. That's kind of interesting. I was always a good reader. And when I was home, my dad, and he worked for Buick, and on weekends we went out junking every weekend. And we loved that. We picked up old iron and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. We went into the homes of many, many people in this town, and they gave them a lot of books. And so I had all of the books from James Oliver Curwood and from many others, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, The Call of the Whale, and many of those stories, Moby Dick and stuff like that. And I read all of those before I got into high school.
Okay.
I had mastered those, and they gave me a new purview on life. And when I went to Whittier from Clark School, I was already equal to or better than many of my counterparts who were white coming from other schools. That's the knowledge and ability to read and elucidate definitions and stuff like that. So I was in pretty good shape to be a peer to all of those kids. And many of my black friends were very proud of me because I could do this. Okay. And I enjoyed it.
Okay, was the schools that you went to, was it segregated, or was there
No, I've never gone to a segregated school.
Okay.
All my schools has been in Flint.
Okay.
I started at Clark School.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Saginaw Valley, I went to Kettering, I went to Eastern Michigan University where I got my master's.
Okay, what courses did you
Engineering courses. I got a major in chemistry and a minor in mathematics from SVSU, and then I went on to get my master's degree in physics at Eastern Michigan University.
Oh, that's wonderful! And hopefully, our viewers out there, especially the younger boys and girls, will listen to Mr. Hatter's story, and and pursue your dreams, because it's very important for a college education. Looking back over a life where limited opportunities were available to you and the perch that you set on today, what does the American dream mean to you?
Well, thank you, Ron. I think when I was younger, I never understood the American dream, but I did come from a family who were hardworking. I belonged to a McIntyre family who was one of the most prominent families in Genesee County in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. So I had a great mentor and a great background, and people who were not sufficiently educated, but they did strive to drive education. And my uncles, after the Second World War, they started your cab company, which was the first black cab company in Flint, Michigan. You can go to the history of Flint, and you can look back through the annals, and it will show you your cab company, 1947. And so I worked for my uncles later, and I built fires for them, kept up the offices there, and I had spending money all the time that kids would take away from me. When I went to Clark School, I was only a block from Clark School, from my uncle's place, so I had to share my money with the kids so I don't get beat up.
Okay.
Yeah, those were the good old days for me. People say there are no such things as good old days, but I lived in the best of times and the worst of times, and I love every bit of it.
Well, you grew up in the 40s and 50s, the age of racial divide and suppression. Consider today's philosophy of public education as it pertains to the right, safety, and protection from psychological abuses of teachers and institutions that so many of our students enjoy today. Under the law by today's standards, do you believe you lived a happy K-12 experience in the classroom?
And that's a very good question, because if you look at the dialogue that kids are having today, you look at the dialogue as we as Americans are having, particularly Black Americans, I find that I believe that I was a happy child. I had my mom and dad. I had my brothers and sisters, although we, if you can imagine, boys in the same bedroom, stacked on top of each other in the bed, in the bedroom, and then if, and sometimes, when you're younger, you suddenly feel a warm place in the bed. Well, I've experienced all of that, but and I loved every bit of it. And I remember one time, Ron, and this is a good thing to talk about, because there are two sides of me. There's the side that I should really feel that was suffering, but it was not. I remember when we had a space heater, and the pipes fell down from the ceiling.
Okay.
And my dad and my brother, and we had to run into the living room and take the stove by the legs and heave it outside. It's a big house, but those were the good old days.
Yeah.
And we talk about that often. But even so, we had a great meal. We always left for school after my mother got up and fixed a breakfast for her kids. But we never went to school hungry. And yet, in today's terms, I would have been called poor. But I didn't feel like I was poor, because I was enriched by my family, and I was driven by them to look at my value, my worth as being valuable to me and to other people. Okay. So I grew up with a focus on a day when I would be able to do things for my parents and give back what they had given me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, and I'm sure that you're leaving a living legacy to your children as well.
Yes, and my kids always. One of the things that the kids did learn from me is my dad and brothers and sisters. We lived on Mayberry Street, and I have never lived in a place where there were homes across the street. I don't live that way today. There's just open space. And my dad, after he came home from Buick, and we would sometimes go up to the corner and sit in the mailbox for him to come home. And then he would start a fire. And sometimes we would start fires made out of tires.
Oh my goodness.
But we all enjoyed this fire. It made a smoke plume. But after all, and we had our white friend there, after a while we all looked alike. That was so funny. Maybe people look at it now as being gross, but we enjoyed all of it. You backed up from the fire when you got too much smoke.
Absolutely.
But we always had a great fun with the people who lived in their neighborhoods, and we lived good, although there was all of this racism and stuff going on around us. But I don't know whether I realized it. I didn't. I didn't realize that there was racism in my early years at Clark School. Not until I got into high school did I really realize truly that there was racism. And then I didn't sense it all the time.
Okay.
And why, I guess the kids really thought that I was one of their equals.
Okay.
Because anything they could do, I could do. I was very good at math and very good at English, could write real well. And that was the proof when I got into college that I could really write well because I got good grades in college. And not only that, but I became a professional writer for students who could not do it, and I wrote their papers for them. I forget what they call that kind of a writer. But I didn't cost them anything, but kids did get paid for that, but I didn't. I just did it. I could crank out a paper real quickly.
How would you rate that era from today?
Well, with respect, I think that there's much more apparent racism today than there is was back in my time. That was I knew it was there. There were places that I couldn't go, but I don't remember that because when I got to be 16, I worked downtown at Kresge's, and I worked in jobs that white kids typically had, and never paid any attention to it.
Wow!
But I'm sure that. I have to later tell you an incident that I did when I really did realize that it was racism. I was riding across the street from the south side of Court Street to the north side of the Court Street, north side of Saginaw Street on the west side of Saginaw Street, Court Street at the intersection. And this guy and a girl came along, and I was on the bike, and they ran into me. And just bent the hell out of my tires. I was lucky I didn't get rolled over.
Yeah.
And the guy yelled at me, but he was a teenager, and really, I felt bad about that. But then I had so many more experiences with other kids who did so many other things for me that I just, it fell by the wayside.
Well, that's a good thing, because I think that, in terms of race relations, we have moved along at almost light speed compared to what it was. Even though, things aren't like we want them to be, but it's certainly better based upon, I'm sure, your experiences and my experiences that that were shared by my parents. Which is a good thing. Okay. What do you feel is your greatest achievement? Whether it's high school, college, or your professional life.
I think, as you know, I was just recognized 3 weeks ago, as one of the most distinguished African Americans in Genesee County. But that was for the work I've done at schools, like Clio schools and the ISD and the colleges and so on and so forth. So after serving on the school board at Clio for this is my 26th year.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you. And having served in all of those positions, and having created 2 scholarships that are worth multiple gifts between now and 2083. That's
Isn't your son one of those?
My son is one of them. The Marcus Hatter Scholarship and the Tuskegee Airman Scholarship.
Wonderful.
That will outlive all of us. So when we look at things and if we feel that we strive to make life a little bit better for other people than it was for us, I think that would be one of my best accomplishments, is having developed, my wife and I, the scholarship for the Hatter Scholarship and the Tuskegee Airman Scholarship. We've had some great recipients of that, and the kids love the scholarships that they get from Hatter or the Tuskegee Airmen.
What is the criteria for those scholarships?
Good question. Now, Clio is a community that's 95% white, okay? And the scholarship is developed to benefit Clio students.
Wow. Okay.
Now, no other students have benefit from those gifts. And the money comes from other people. It comes from a black source, but it's donated by other people, the people in the community, and institutions and businesses. And so what we do, the criteria to qualify for a scholarship, either the Hatter Scholarship or the Tuskegee Airmen, is that a student, boy or girl, must have had some difficulty during their lifetime. Loss of parents, loss of arm or leg or something like that. As did the Tuskegee Airmen did in 1941 and 1942. And the duration of all the suffering that they did. I won't say suffering, but the challenges that they had. We don't ever want people to feel sorry for us, so there were some tough times. And so we ask our students, you must be a high achiever.
Okay.
Because we don't want to be associated with people who don't achieve. We want to look at ourselves as high achievers. And therefore, anybody who receives a Tuskegee Airmen Scholarship or the Hatter Scholarship must be at least a B student.
Okay.
And the first student who received the Tuskegee Airmen Scholarship, for example, was the mathematician of the year. The next year, we had a student that was a girl, and she was an AB student, but she was not top of the line. The third year we had the valedictorian. So we always characterize our students as having these little nuances about their lives that have made them uncomfortable and challenging, and yet be able to reestablish themselves to get a good grade and go on to college.
What are the amounts, the monetary amounts of your scholarships per scholarship, whether it be Marcus Hatter or the Tuskegee Airmen?
We used to give out $1,000 per student, but now we give out $2 a year. That's a boy or girl at $500 each.
Okay.
And so that doesn't take care of all of their college needs, but it gives them a jump start, and it's something to strive for when you're going to Clio schools.
Exactly. And in today's the way things are today, it's expensive to go to college. Thousands of dollars, to get there, and and every little, and the books are so expensive.
Sure.
Just to get started. What would you say, or how would you say, to improve the quality of life? What would you encourage African Americans to do more of on one hand and less on the other? Let's not buttonhole this to, I think, African Americans, but to students in general. Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless of race.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Gender.
Because that's where I am. But because we're talking about and people looking at the show, they will know I'm black, and but I don't practice my life lessons that way. Because I think that all kids are my kids. When I look at the Clio community, I look at them as my kids. I look at the Flint community the same way. These kids are my kids. And as I look at the situation that's going on in Flint with the water, and how the water situation has condemned our young kids to fit the model that existing now and previously, that we're low performers, we can't learn, we're underfoot, we're undernourished, we're underrepresented, just on and on and on. Kids can't take much of that. and then we pile this water issue on them.
I agree.
And that's unfortunate. And I hope people can understand that. To me, that was. I would hope that our leaders would talk in a way that have high expectations for the kids of Flint, like other people do. And I do know that the rest of the community want black kids to do well.
Sure.
They want them to do academically well. I'm in a community that I know that I've experienced it. I'm a sample of people who have wanted to see me make well. I've never come across a circumstance where someone has never, well, not academically, didn't want to see me succeed. But, and I'd like to have kids think about that. And I want young kids to assume that there's something good about them. It's good about their lives, and there's a quality in it that but they got to work at it.
Sure.
They got to strive to be the best. They got to be second best to nobody.
That's right. And
kids who slough off all day and waste time in the classroom and steal academic time from other students by disruption, stuff like that. We got to stop doing that.
Sure. In
the classroom, and somehow we got to find the formula or the model that encourages our kids to do better. By 2050, as I said, young black people are going to, and Hispanics, going to be the arithmetic political majority of this country, and we're going to have to get them prepared. Well, our kids should be learning how to deal with other people, to be fair and just in doing that. Just because we don't see justice and fairness every day, we need to strive for it. That's what I'd like to see. In response to your question, I'd like to see us do more of.
Well, hopefully that'll happen. Mr. Hatter, when we hear words like the Tuskegee Airmen and Red Tails, which are historic in itself and also a part of the great experiment in World War II, which proved that African Americans were more than qualified to fly warplanes to protect our nation's interests, is astounding. These men have been honored around the globe for their lives lost and their pride and accomplishments against an evil foreign foe. These men were consummate professionals, especially against the racism encountered not only by the military in which they served, but also by America's citizens when they gave their lives to protect upon their return home to America. Mr. Hatter, you must be honored for your professionalism and determination to keep the Tuskegee Airmen's legacy alive. You have been in the forefront as a beacon of light for our generation and those to come in many ways. The nation is now witnessing through your tireless efforts and determination signs now erected upon the state of Michigan highways from the Michigan-Ohio border, I-75, to Mackinac, Michigan. From Port Huron to the Michigan-Indiana border, I-69. Busts of the Tuskegee Airmen are now being developed. Dreams do come true. The nation, with deep appreciation, thanks you. Mr. Hatter has been a recipient of many plaques, honors, certificates for his undying, unyielding professionalism and devotion to excellence from individuals, schools, local, county, state, and federal governments. You are also on many committees and boards to share your expertise. This is impressive. Mr. Hatter, there is one more acknowledgement that you rightly deserve. The Feed a Family program, of which you are a board member, thanks you for your unselfish devotion to humanity and participation to help feed the hungry in Genesee County, Michigan. The Feed a Family program has helped feed hundreds since its birth in 2011. Mr. Hatter, we give you this certificate of appreciation for the Feed a Family program.
Thank you, my friend.
And you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. You have a very impressive record and accomplishments. and I'm sure that many of our students, and many of your students, not only around the state but around the nation, okay, will be enriched by your wisdom and your determination. Not many people will find the time to do things for others. Unfortunately, our country is like, I got mine now, you get yours, but your unselfish devotion to humanity is more than welcome.
And Ron, that's why I challenge this show, and also the people of Flint and the state of Michigan and the United States to do a better job in preparing our kids for when we have the paradigm shift. We've got to be able to carry the country on as a free and democratic society, not divided. We should begin now, as we have over the years talked about this coming shift. And I hope that we can do more to invigorate and convince Americans that we need to work toward this goal, and that is bringing us together. We can't do it politically the way you're seeing it done today, but there's got to be, we've got to find a pathway to do that.
Well, Mr. Hatter, I think that, with people such as yourself, it will happen. But again, I applaud you for your accomplishments. And thank you for being on the In My Opinion show.
This show has really improved the quality of my life. This show has.
Thank you. We want to thank our millions of viewers worldwide, our excellent technical staff. This is Ronald Barry Robinson, along with Mr. Henry Hatter, our guest, saying for the In My Opinion show, stay focused.